Hey everyone! So today you and I are going to talk about old browsers. Yes! Let's talk about old browsers. I don't really want to talk about old browsers. Or rather, I would rather that they did not exist. But let's get into it anyway, because this is one of the, I would say, the two worst things in front end. And I honestly believe, and that I'm not over exaggerating when I'm saying that 30% of what you do as a web developer when you're working with the UI is to actually build the thing. And 70% is to just make sure that it works in all the browsers that you have to support. There is nothing that is as frustrating as being told by your boss that, hey, we want to support all the browsers, or something of that nature, or very, very old browsers. And why is this such an issue? Well, let me tell you. There are two, in my opinion, main reasons why this is an issue. In general, I see a trend in front-end land, and that is that people like to be innovative. They like new shiny tools, and if you're an engineer or you're a software developer or whatever you are, odds are that you care about the tools, and you care about the craft, and you care about having a good time developing the stuff that you're building. That is very, very tricky. When you have a really, really old browser, it's very tricky for you to maintain any type of relevancy. Virtually, I remember I was talking to this one company where I was talking to the least inspiring front-end developer I have ever talked to. It was, I'm not going to mention any names because that's uncool, but this person it's not bad or anything like that, but he had started working for a company that was really, really, really conservative. He just didn't realize it. Or maybe he did. Maybe it's me who is the weird one here. But this is actually a little bit of an issue for you when it comes to being a front-end developer or doing UI stuff. And that is that if you have the unfortunate situation of starting to work for a company who doesn't progress or doesn't let you work with relevant tools, you will lose a lot of your market value very, very quickly. This guy solely worked in JavaScript land for the most part, and most of what he did was to maintain very old projects that mostly used Bootstrap, I think 3 or something like that, and jQuery. That was most of what he did. And although there's nothing wrong with that, that's actually an issue, because that means that he is not accumulating any of the big brand popular tools at that point in time. But what are you going to do? In his scenario, he had to support some really, really, really old browsers, and he had to work in an environment where the company was more interested in having full support for older browsers as opposed to being modern and being progressive. And the thing is that there would be no problem, or at least not for me. I wouldn't mind working in an old browser if there was an understanding of the limitations of working in an old browser. Because what I see, and this is something I have had such an issue with so many times, I see the team working and creating things that are visually and behave in a very modern and very up-to-date way. And when you have to support really, really old browsers, that's very tricky to do and make it feel and look nice in accordance to what the design team wants in all the browsers. It's the best thing I've ever heard said about this is this. If you have a mentality, rather, let's look at televisions. That's where this is coming from, kind of where this idea came, the example that was used in this idea. If you buy a new flat screen TV, top of the line. You would expect that TV would give you some really high value of some sort, that it would give you a really good experience, be it high quality image, sound, whatever you want to call it. That's what you're expecting. But what if all the movies that were created today were designed to work on a TV 40 or 30, 50 years or something like that ago? Because if the movie is designed to work on all screens, it would be absolutely crap on your new flat screen TV. There would be no reason for you to own it, because even if you have all that power and potential, you can't use it, because the thing that you're looking at, the movie you're looking at, is absolutely shit. The quality is shit because the old TV can't handle this type of load that your TV can. But the people who create the movie, hey, they want full coverage. They want everybody to look at it. And to me, that is insanity. That is the dumbest damn thing that I can imagine. Because the way that I want to think about it is this. Why would we cater to the lowest common denominator? There's no... if we do that, if it's always working in every single old browser, then there's no reason for us to move forward. There's no reason for the people with the old browser to upgrade. And honestly, I understand that yes, there are certain situations where a lot of people don't really have an option to use some newer, fancier browsers. And perhaps that is, honestly, I don't know how common this is. I would like to believe that is more uncommon, more an exception than the rule, because maybe this is me being selfish, but I want to have the mentality instead of having the mentality to say, hey, we need to support all the browsers. I would rather say, hey, let's encourage people to upgrade their browser, because trust me, if it is feasible, unless, as I said, there's like some restriction as to why you can't do that, it is magnitudes easier for someone to upgrade their browser as opposed to you trying to support it. And this is where I go on a rant about feature queries. This is, and maybe I'm not seeing something here now, but feature queries, I was watching this tech talk the other day about CSS Grid, and you know, you have these old browsers, and the suggestion was that you could use feature queries to check if CSS Grid is supported, and use CSS Grid if it is supported, and if it's not supported, you will fall back to some other implementation. It just doesn't sit well with me. Just think about it. If I already know that there's a possibility that something doesn't look and behave the way I want it to in an old browser, and I have to cater to that, why in the world would I do double implementations? Why would I create one implementation for the modern browsers and one for the old browser? If I'm already trying to, I can't see a reasonable reason why you would do that. Then I might as well not use the new fancy tools. I might as well just build it the old way. There's no, I don't know. I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a hot button issue for me, because I want to say for the record that old browsers and inconsistencies and not being able to use the tools that allow you to work effectively is one of the hardest things to deal with as a front-end developer. All this inconsistency, all these limitations, and all these things that you have to think about. It's actually funny, because I think that that's what I've heard, at least a lot of the server-side developers that I work with, they are actively avoiding doing front-end work because of all these issues, because they're they don't, in their world, rather, you know, when I work server-side, that's the best thing about server-side. that you can always trust the environment. It's consistent, it's the same. You don't have to think about all these damn corner cases and all these inconsistencies and so forth. And that's where front-end developers I would even go one further and say front-end developers, they have to go through more shit than anybody else, with the possible exception of operations people. So, old browsers. Let's finish by saying that if you are in the unfortunate situation that you have to support old browsers, I feel very sorry for you. It is, luckily enough, this problem is going away more and more. But if I could leave you with one thought, and this is the same thing that I have as a thought about transpilation. I am a strong opposer of using polyfills for modern tools that aren't really released yet. You may have may know that Babel and other tools of that nature have the ability to allow you to use features of JavaScript that aren't actually in the standard yet. I hate that. I absolutely hate this. I hate the idea that I have to do all this extra magic in order to get a spread operator that works in an object, for example. And why do I hate this? Well, I hate this because in order for me to use something that I want to use, I have to do all this magic for it to work. And then I'm kind of like this. Why the hell would I do it that way? I know of other ways to do it that works pretty much the same way. Why would I go through all that hassle to use one specific way of doing it when that specific way is not giving me... I mean, the cost-benefit ratio is completely fucked up here. There's no reason for me to add Babel and all these transpilers in order for me to just use a spread operator in an object. Is it really that important? Just use damn object assign or something. It's literally less work. You're putting in more work to do something that you shouldn't be able to do just yet. Maybe just be patient. Maybe just be patient. That's how I feel about it. Same thing goes for old browsers. If you have to support old browsers, kill that part in yourself that wants to use all the fancy shiny tools, and use tools and make an implementation that is right for that specific situation that you are in. Don't add all this extra complexity and polyfills and all that to use things that you shouldn't be. It's just, in my opinion, it's just extra work. A lot of extra frustration and a lot of extra complexity when it is possible to virtually do the same thing without all this extra stuff. And apart from that, help me and everybody else to get everybody onto modern browsers, because old browsers are a shitstorm. I'm sorry they are. Have a great day.